How's it going, everybody? Walter, the Palmetto Cemeterian here. We're heading back to the Charles Cemetery today to do a little bit of cleaning up. I already have been to the cemetery a couple of times since you were last here with me. I picked up some trash, and a friend and I cut down some trees. And so far, nothing else has happened in the cemetery. There's a little bit more garbage here and there from people coming back there and drinking and whatever. But otherwise, it hasn't been too bad. I'm hoping for the same results today. When I was there last time, I drug a bunch of brush in front of the drive into the cemetery from the busy road, so hopefully that deterred some people from driving into the cemetery. But otherwise, I'm going to show you the Charles family home today. Built in the 1830s or 1840s. It's called kind of called the John M. Charles house. John M. Charles was my 6th great-grandfather, so that's going back 6 generations. And he died in 1848 here in Greenville County, presumably in this house that we're going to be visiting today. It's been abandoned about 20 years. It's in pretty rough shape. Squatters lived in it, trashed the place. But it's still a very cool relic of my family's history, and I want to film it and share it with the world before it's inevitably torn down and developed. I'll meet you back at the cemetery in about 20 minutes. That's about as far as we have left to go driving wise. And I'll show you a little bit of the house and tell you as much of the story as I know it. Well, welcome back to the cemetery. Here we are. I had a brush pile right there that I put here probably about 3 weeks ago. Somebody has moved it out of the way, and when I came in and saw that, I was nervous because I figured somebody had moved it out of the way so they could dump some trash, or there was going to be more vandalism. Thankfully, it seems like somebody just wanted to come up to the cemetery and check it out. I kind of wish they hadn't moved my brush, but that's okay. We'll probably end up putting it back. But here you can see we cut down a lot of trees, little saplings that had started to grow up in this part of the cemetery. You could hardly see through this part before. We did this in one afternoon. I have not begun any of the restoration efforts yet. I'm still in the cleanup process, still trying to get these trees out of here before they create an even bigger issue. And then, of course, trying to get the garbage picked up. There are some small piles of it scattered around the cemetery, so we're going to do some cleaning up, pick up some trash, get rid of some of this brush, and then we're going to head through the woods over there to the abandoned Charles family home where John M. and Elizabeth Garrison Charles once lived, as well as their children who are buried here, many of them. Getting this area cleaned out right here in between these 2 headstones, or 2 rows of headstones. It's grown up right in the middle, and somebody piled a lot of brush in there. See, there is one headstone sitting there. There's one that was broken off. It actually belongs here. That headstone belongs over there. It was broken and then moved when the cemetery was vandalized. You can see things are starting to bloom. But hopefully we'll have this looking better here shortly. We've got most of the bushes cleared out. A lot of the stuff that was hanging from above too. Certainly starting to look better over here. Found a field stone in there next to Chris's foot. It's pretty cool. Coming along. There's our brush piles are growing. Doesn't look like as much as it is, but we're getting there. Well, that area is pretty well cleaned up of all the big stuff. There's still some small things on the ground to move. Here's what's next. We're gonna try to whittle down these smaller saplings as much as we can and drag them on out of here to the tree line. But there's a lot, and if nobody intervened, this would very quickly become a pine forest, just like the surrounding area is very pine laden. Whew, a little bit out of breath, but we've cut a lot of these saplings down around the back edge of the cemetery. We'll drag them out here shortly. I don't expect we'll get all of them today. You don't realize how many there are until you start cutting them. But it feels good to be moving forward and making progress. On a side note, found what appears to be part of a deer skull in this grove of pines. A doe, probably. A lot of molars. Maybe one of y'all could tell me differently, though. Good progress. Quite a distance we have made it. We just finished cutting down all the pines and dragging them out to the tree line. Most of them went back here. These were all the pine trees lining the back of the cemetery, and this is the road that circles around all the way around the cemetery. There's still quite a bit of trash over here. Need to blow it out, try not to trip. But a huge improvement. Huge improvement. Couldn't have walked through here before. Still need some time to pick up trash, and there's a lot of other stuff that needs to be cut down, but in terms of everything that's in the main part of the cemetery, that was most of it, I would say, or a good quantity of it. So we just finished the cemetery cleanup. We're walking straight through the woods from the cemetery, about halfway up the path that goes there to the John M. Charles house. It was the home of the family who's buried in the cemetery, many of whom are my ancestors. Yeah, the house is in very iffy condition. I'll show you in a minute. Walking through the woods now from the cemetery, which is behind us, to the John M. Charles house. If I'm at the cemetery and I want to come to the house, I usually just walk through the woods. The house dates to the 1830s or 40s. It's in pretty rough shape. It's been abandoned for a long time. About to show it to you. So here we are coming up on the house. Trying to be a little bit quiet because I'm not sure who might be inside, honestly. But I have to go around because there's a fence there, so we're going to cut through the bamboo here. Tons of wild daffodils growing back here. When I say wild, I don't think they were planted. Hard to say. They got cold and wilted a little bit, but still pretty to see them. Here's the old utility shed, which has certainly seen better days. You can see there was a full-size camp here. The building's all fallen in now, but yeah, they pretty much ran everybody out of here at one point or another, probably about 3 years ago, and the mess was left behind. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that seems to have been stolen and then probably left here. Stolen for drug money, supposedly. They had a whole camp out back here and were cooking and probably using drugs. Left a lot behind. Haven't seen any needles that I can tell. It's a good sign. I'm careful about that. Haven't made it to the house yet, but we can tell that somebody has camped here pretty recently. There's mail that they stole and discarded here, presumably because it's addresses and places that are 10, 15, 20 minutes from here. We've been finding all these letters in amongst this garbage from the late 50s to the early 60s. They are pretty cool. They're addressed to different places, or addressed back to Greenville mostly, but from different places. Have to show you more later. Look at that. 62. First Lieutenant Thomas J. Benson. Wow. Fort Jackson, Columbia. Here's what we found in the treasure pile so far. Stacks of letters from the late 50s and early 60s and funeral photos. Pretty out there. Not quite sure what to make of all this stuff or how it got here. It's very strange. Here is the house. Let's hope nobody's home. I would much prefer that it just be us here. Though you never know when you come here until you show up. But this is the back of the John M. Charles house. There's fresh graffiti on the back of the house. Built sometime in the 1840s, 1830s, added on to subsequently. I already see graffiti. This is all new. I come here for the thrill of the kill. Tell your friends, sit back and chill. I'll cut up your man first. My mouth can't wait for the taste of the thrill.
For the task of the thirst.
The task of the... Hard to read. Pause it if you want to see more.
Before I split you open and hang you upside down. Fist. Oh my God!
Yeah, evidently there's some rather inappropriate things written on the outside of the house, so I apologize for that. We'll go inside here in a moment. This is the backyard. All right, let's go inside. Here are the original back steps. This is the abandoned Charles family home. Anybody home? Sheriff's office. Classic trick. It's the collapsed basement cellar. Can't go down, sadly. This was the like the parlor or the sitting room. So The windows are gone. Fireplace stolen. Mantle, at least. This is the John M. Charles house. It was lived in by my ancestors starting in the 1830s or 1840s. John M. Charles himself died in 1848. So you can see it's been stripped of anything of any imaginable value by scrappers. The deck's collapsing outside. This is the kitchen. There's the back of the chimney. Doors all stolen. Must have been beautiful. There's this main living area. I suppose this was the laundry room. Possibly a bedroom at one point. A lot of different trash has been left behind, but people were living here for a while. People who were not the homeowner. The home was, what'd you see? Looks like some kind of a entryway into the upstairs maybe, or the attic. But the home was abandoned about 10 or 15, maybe 20 years ago. Some distant cousins of mine who are also descendants of the same family that built this house and lived in it originally, moved out to try to find some better schools for their kids, and they tried renting it out to somebody, and before long everything was being stolen. The decking, the hot water heaters, washing machines, dryer, all the wiring out of the walls, and they pretty much just abandoned the house after that. And here it is now. But it's cool to know that my ancestors lived here, even though you would need millions probably to fix it, to save it. I wanted to make sure that there was good footage of it, at least before it becomes truly a memory. It's the living room. Matt, come home, please. Whoever was here was looking for Matt. Hope he's safe somewhere. It's been collapsed. The doors must have been beautiful because they're all gone. There's the attic. I don't believe we'll be venturing up there. All right, we are upstairs. I have been here several times, and I've never had the guts to walk on this floor, if I'm completely honest with you. I'm not sure if I'll venture into this room. I just have no idea how unstable the floors may be. Fireplace cover there. I have to admit, I'd like to see what's on the other side of that. The ceiling to the kitchen, I would imagine. Only 2 rooms upstairs, aside from the attic. Wasps certainly like being up here. I wonder if this door is worth saving. I don't know if it's not original or what. That's why it hasn't been taken, but there's some brick in that fireplace. That's pretty cool. Chris is checking out the attic for us. He's the bravest of the bunch. Anything up there, Chris?
Christmas sweater.
Christmas sweater?
Yeah.
Sounds like a treasure.
Just insulation.
Still smells like an attic. At least. Except there are vines growing through it. Not much up here, I can tell you that. Not that I can see, at least. Let's get out the flashlight and find out. I don't want to venture all the way up. And back down the stairs we go. Banister's gone. I always wonder if this will be the last time I see it before the developers show up and turn the place into dust. Walking around the side of the house, the front, beautiful blooms out here. But I want to show you the front of the house before we leave, and also the upping stone that would have been used by my ancestors to mount their horses and to get into wagons. It smells sweet out here. Thankfully, we were the only ones inside. You can see the grass is very well trampled out here from all of the people that walk through here. There are a lot of people that walk through here. This is the front of the Charles house. This section was the original part. Of course, that was added on, and then everything around the back was added on. It was originally just a two-story frame farmhouse. But this is the upping stone here. So you can see it looks like steps almost, where my ancestors would have mounted their horses and got into wagons. It's very cool. The property is for sale. And one day, this great house will be gone. You can see the 3 chimneys, 2 original, 1 on each side, and then 1 added on the back. All right, friends. So we just finished doing some cleaning at the Charles Cemetery. We cut down a lot of pine trees today. Certainly could not have done it without my lovely girlfriend, and our good friend Chris, who was very kind to come out and help us lop some of the brush down and drag it to the tree line. And then afterwards we went and explored the house, had a great time doing that, and found that cache of letters and the funeral photos in amongst the garbage that the squatters had left behind. I'm not sure if any of that stuff has a connection to the house or not, but it's very possible that the recipient and the writer of those letters could very well still be alive. So we took them with us, and we're going to try to figure out if those people are still alive and if we can return those letters to them if they want them. It's a sad situation, passing by the Charles house now on my left, but the house is incredible. It's amazing to know that my ancestors, John and Elizabeth Garrison Charles, lived there, as well as Israel and Permelia Sullivan Charles, their son and his wife, all my ancestors, and then of course my great aunts and uncles, all that good stuff. But it's the reason that I really wanted to film the house is because I know very well that there's a good chance I'm going to come back one day and it's not going to be there, because that property is for sale, the house is for sale, and it is nothing but an impediment to the buyer of that property, because it will be developed into townhouses or a condo complex or a strip mall or a gas station, something like that. But the only thing that I think I can really protect there is the cemetery, unfortunately. And we're hoping to identify the exact location of where that slave cemetery is on the property. All the field stones, as you remember from my previous video, were all in a pile, in a big mess, and we don't think that's where the cemetery really is. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing if you already have, and thank you if you're going to subscribe. Thank you for watching and liking the video, or my previous video. The outpouring of support was incredible, and I really do appreciate it, and I look forward to meeting you all next time out at the cemetery.